Go on then. Since you brought up Mr. Verstappen, foursome say soon to be five-time champion potentially. What did you make of Max's performance? Because again, I think it's very easy for F1 newbies and casuals to look at Max and he's not on the podium, and it's like, well, Max is washed. There's no way that you said all this time Max benefited from the machinery. You had Adrian Newey there. Now he doesn't have the machine. He's nowhere. He was an Adrian Newey merchant, just as Sebastian Vettel was before him. To that, Mr. Windsor, you say.
Well, I mean, the Adrian Newey thing, there's a little bit of meaning in that, isn't there? Ever since Adrian left, they won a Grand Prix and they've had some pretty good races. Maybe it's hurting them a fraction at the moment. If Aston Martin was suddenly getting good at Q3 every race, you could say, yeah, the Adrian effect. I think it's too early to say that. I think what Red Bull have got is a car that they've just about got to the limit with, and they don't know where else to go with it. They obviously need better traction, better turn-in, and better time management. We all know that. Not bad on the straight. But no, going back to Max's drive, I thought it was one of the best drives of his career. I thought it was absolutely outstanding where he had that car. Liam Lawson is not slow. He's not a slow racing driver. He's finding the Red Bull almost undrivable. And more than anything, that points to how good Max Verstappen is. He's got all the experience and everything else, set up and everything else. But wow, what a performance from Max yesterday. I don't think there's any way that car deserved to be P4, and yet it was.
He wasn't too bad, was he?
Oh, it's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And I say that because, again, you very, very rarely saw him having moments out of line. He just kept everything right on the edge. He was driving the wheels off that thing, but you couldn't see it. That was the beautiful subliminal thing about it.
No, he's very worthy, he's Mr.
And he was super. It was very good in the second half of the race. Once they got the hard tyres on, they obviously didn't degrade as much, and he was able to get even more out of the car. But not much he could do.
Red Bull are set to have an emergency meeting this week, Thursday at Milton Keynes. Peter, do you think on their agenda items there will be something that speaks to trying to keep Max Verstappen at Red Bull through to 2028 when his contract expires?
Is it for that, or is it for the other car? I can't imagine it's for the Max Verstappen thing, because Max is still going to say, I've no idea any more than you guys have what the car's going to be like in 26. It'd be pointless for me to leave Red Bull before 28. Can he think that far ahead? 28, he's probably going to be in WRC or NASCAR or something, isn't he? I can't imagine I've never known any racing person who can think that far ahead. I can't think that far ahead. 28, did you say? It's 2 years. You've got to be joking. No idea. Surely he'll wait to see who's got the best car in 26 and the best power unit with the whole new regs, and then he'll, try and get into that car, won't he? That'd be the logical thing.
The more that I put my ear to the F1 rumour coalface, Peter, the more that I hear that Max Verstappen is having conversations with Toto in real time with a view potentially be there.
I'm sure he is. He would have conversations with Ferrari, McLaren, and with Mercedes. Why wouldn't he? He's Max Verstappen. He's got to keep all those doors open. But I can't imagine he would make a decision before he sees what the 26 cars are like and who's quick and who's not. That would be so illogical for him to make a decision now. It's got to be about the other car, isn't it? And at the moment, did you say it was at Milton Keynes? I would have thought it would be taking place at Bedford or Goodwood, where Rob Wilson's currently training, isn't he? Isn't that where they should be having the meeting? Rob, take this guy out, sit next to him, tell us what he's doing wrong. Isn't that what should be happening right now? It's very simple. It costs what, about 1,200 quid to do that? So that if they're not doing that, then they're still lost, because the basis on which they hired Liam obviously was not on how he drives, it was on something else. And I don't know, maybe it was all a business thing, blonde hair or whatever, I don't know. But it's certainly, you hire Liam Lawson, you're hiring a guy who's massively oversteery, reflexy, very, 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 very good car control, but very little feel for the front of the car and for understeer. I remember doing an interview with him, I don't know, when he's in Formula 3. And when we finished, I remember saying, look, here's Rob Wilson's number. I think you could do a lot with Rob. He's a New Zealander too, fellow Kiwi. Oh yeah, great. Yeah. Never rang. What can you do? Oh yeah, part of the Red Bull Academy. Don't need to learn, don't need to do any of that stuff. It'll all just happen. Well, guess what? It doesn't just happen. Unless you're Max or Lewis or Charles or, Jim Clark. It doesn't, or Nigel for that matter.
It doesn't just happen. So go on then, Mr. Windsor. Let me ask you the question this way, because I think this, are Red Bull laundering their very poor low-level decision-making through the lens...
I thought you were going to say laundering cyber currency or something, but anyway.
through the lens of Liam Lawson's material underperformance. Is it a misnomer, a scapegoat even, to say that this is all Liam Lawson's fault? The fact that he's in that car, ostensibly a Max Verstappen handling car, something that favours him, super pointy on the nose. Is it wrong? Are we being disingenuous to say that Liam Lawson's got a part to play in this?
Well, my view on that. A quick car is a quick car, a slow car is a slow car, but there's a way to drive both. And Max gets the best from a car, whether it's a quick or a slow car. Whereas I think Liam can only drive one way. And that's his problem right now. The way he's driving isn't the way to drive that car. Now, you could say, oh, well, it's set up for Max, designed around Max. But it's a racing car, Get in and drive it, sort it. And it seemed to me he was moaning about tyre temperatures, not getting the right temperature window all the time in Q1. Well, I don't know what to say to that, because of all the things you can practice and simulate, that's probably one of them. I don't think you can practice and simulate the difference between the way Max brakes and turns into turn 1 in Shanghai and the way Liam Lawson brakes and turns into turn 1 in Shanghai at high speed on soft tyres. But I do think you can probably go through the tyre warm-up regime reasonably efficiently before you even get to the racetrack, I would have thought. So, you're not talking about massive speeds here, are you? But he never seemed to get it right. According to him, that was the big issue. But of course, he would say that because if he doesn't have the balance he wants, he's going to say, well, it's because the tyre temperatures weren't right. And if the tyre temperatures aren't right, it must be the preparation laps. But it's not. It's the way he's using the tyres, the energy he's putting through the tyres, and the way he's leaning on the tyres at the point of the corner entry with the amount of throttle that he's got and the steering angle that he's got. It's all to do with that. And that is, I'm afraid, that's gentle, firm on the steering. It's light touch on the brake before you give it a firm prod. It's all the things, extra turn in the middle of the corner maybe to get the car rotated at exactly the right moment. It's shortening the corner. It's giving yourself a bit of a cushion both sides in terms of entry and exit, because you are massaging the car more than just absolutely on the limit in a straight line, braking in a straight line. It's all those things that he doesn't have. So no wonder every time he makes a small mistake, it ruins the lap. Every time Max makes a small mistake, he just counters it immediately with gut feel. And that's the difference.
Is it even... I feel really bad for Liam, Peter. I feel like it's almost an exercise in futility, not just to compare a young rookie in Liam Lawson to Max Verstappen, but to compare him in that pressure cooker of a Red Bull racing team and in that RB21, which nobody else seemingly in the world can drive. I just feel like Liam was always in a hiding to nothing.
Yeah, well, in his defence, there's another driver out there that's pretty similar to Liam, and that is Carlos Sainz. Now, Carlos is a lot more polished, and his inputs now are much softer than Liam's. But there was a time when Carlos was very, very like Liam in the way he drove, and he still basically does drive like that. It's just that he has much softer inputs. But look how much he's struggling at Williams, because there's no testing in Formula One as such. By the time they get through Bahrain, they've gone through a job list of about 150 things, and they never actually focused on what they're actually doing as a racing driver. So there's no real testing. And even Carlos Sainz, a driver of his experience, is really struggling to make a Williams work alongside an Alex Albon who knows the team and, as we know, has got beautifully soft inputs as well, sort of Lando Norris-esque inputs, and very similar to Lando actually in the way he goes into corners, quite wide but beautiful soft touch, as we've said for many years. So it was always going to be an issue for Carlos to be quicker than Alex Albon in the Williams. I always said that. But going back to the point, look how he's struggling and struggled over that Chinese weekend with the crosswind, with the temperature, with the tyres, the track surface, all the things that are there. And And so I guess it's no real surprise that the driver most like Liam is also struggling. The answer to that is Liam needs to start expanding his talent. And when you've got a natural talent like Liam Lawson, you can develop in a lot of areas, and you can develop shorter corners. You can develop a softer touch, but you've got to work at it. And it's like hitting 1,000 bunker shots a day. And I don't believe he's doing that. He's probably going to the gym. He's probably going to the sim. He's probably studying all the analysis, the data, the telemetry, which is all going to take him round in circles.
Blimey, Mr. Windsor. Should we play a cheeky game of what would Windsor do? If you're in that meeting on Thursday, who are you putting forth as your name, the most likely and most ready, fit-for-purpose candidate to sit alongside Max Verstappen in that second Red Bull racing season?
Well, Red Bull are in a very fortunate position to have two teams and they can swap their drivers around. So, yeah, absolutely for sure. I'd put Yuki Tsunoda in the car and I'd put Liam Lawson back into the B team. There's absolutely no decision. If I was there, that's exactly what would happen.
Alternatively, of course, and assuming you could do it in a way that wouldn't affect the Drivers' Championship points, the best thing would be to put Max in one of the Racing Bulls for a while or for the rest of the season, because it's a good bet that the Racing Bull chassis right now is a better car than the Red Bull A team. Look at the performance of Yuki. Look how well Isaac Hadjar did in qualifying in China, and look how difficult the car is for Liam Lawson and how difficult really it is for Max. I mean, P4, absolutely perfect day in the office in terms of maximizing the car, but P4 in China. And that Racing Bulls car looks to be quite good. So it's a pretty sound bet that if Max Verstappen was in the Yuki Tsunoda car now, he'd probably be ahead of where he is in the A team. I mean, that's the bizarre thing about the whole Red Bull situation at the moment. But I mean, that won't happen, I guess, for contractual reasons, branding, sponsorship, everything else, the points. It's probably a big drama with the constructors and everything. So that's never going to happen. But so the alternative would be to put Yuki alongside Max and go that way, and at least get Yuki's input then of how the two cars compare. Probably a bit of a shock for Yuki if he's in that car at Suzuka. It's actually not as good as the thing he's been driving so far.
So, but then again, I'd be looking at guys like Teo Pourchaire and Fred Vesti and guys like that, just to sort of see where they are contractually. Good guys that don't have options and things going on. Marcus Armstrong, he was always as quick as Liam Lawson, wasn't he? I remember asking Ollie Oakes once, who was the quicker of the two? And he said, I just don't want to go there, mate. They're so closely matched. Don't want to go there. Nobody talks about Marcus Armstrong anymore, do they? Over in IndyCar. But Liam, I think Liam alongside Isaac Hadjar would be a really good matchup, wouldn't it? Then you'd see really where he's at. The real problem, of course, is the lack of testing. And that's not something that, say, even Sebastian Vettel suffered from. On a Friday, he did a lot of running before he was a full Grand Prix driver. So that's the real problem. But then again, it's the same for everybody. And you can jump in and go, well, if you're doing it on gut instinct and your gut feel for the car is a correct one, in the sense that you're driving in a correct way, getting the best from the car, rather than driving against some of the forces of the car and trying to get it to oversteer when it's understeering and things like that. That's never going to work at the level of Formula One with no testing.